for their keynote speeches. After that, we will have the pleasure to attend a presentation by Fahad Mheri, Executive Director of Space Sector at the UAE Space Agency. After the presentation, Nasser Al-Rashdi, Director of Space Policy and Regulations at the UAE Space Agency and the GSIA Program Director, will give us more details about the GSIA framework and moderate a panel discussion with the GSIA partners, which include Abu Dhabi Global Market, Department of Economic Development, Khalifa Fund, Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center, ICT Fund, and Hub 71. After the panel, Anas Zainuddin, Executive Director of Krypto Labs, will present the highlights of the UAE NewSpace Innovation Program as an initiative under the GSIA, following with the space startup pitches. And after the pitches, we will proceed with the MOU signing announcement, and we will finalize today's webinar with a wrap-up by Nasser Al-Rashdi. Please, if you have any questions, write them down in the Q&A panel so we can respond live, and please avoid writing your questions in the chat box. Also, I would like to inform you that a recorded version of the webinar will be available. So now, I would like to welcome His Excellency Dr. Mohammed Al-Ahbabi, Director General of the UAE Space Agency. The mic is yours, Your Excellency.
Thank you, Hamda. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here and join you for this session. I would like to be brief because I'm very excited to hear from others. But I want to emphasize that launching this initiatives, Global Space Industry Accelerator, which is within the Emirates Innovation or the Space Investment Promotion Plan. We are in the UAE Space Agency very, delighted to see this initiatives is moving forward. We are also delighted with the partnership that we are engaging with the Krypto Lab and ADGM and others players. As for UAE Space Agency, we are committed to continue these efforts because this is, of course, aligned with our mandate to promote space economy and to facilitate the activities in the space sector to be a key contributor to the our national knowledge-based economy. A lot of ideas, a lot of initiatives coming in the future. But overall, we are happy with the progress that has been made. We witnessed last year 2 companies were established, small companies, startup companies. This year, we are hoping with the Krypto Lab to have around 4, and more to comes in the next few years. UAE Space Program, as you know, is probably have been come to the point where we have maturity when it comes to process, procedures, but also regulations and space exploration, human space flight, number of satellites, our international cooperation, all these. Now, I think it's time for us, to focus more on, space economy and how to promote, sustainable development, where space can be a contributor. Again, I would like to leave the time for you, but I would like to express, my deep thanks for all participants who are joining us in this session. And also special thanks to the Krypto Lab and to Dr. Saleh and his team and Anas. I would like also to thanks, ADGM, and I think we will sign something today. This is kind of indicator that we are moving towards space economy, promoting all space activities through collaboration and cooperation locally with governments, entities, industry, and academia. I'm also happy to see Adnan Reyes from MBRC contributing, and I'm happy to also hear that MBRC is part of this initiatives. Together, we can achieve more and faster. So thanks again for your time, and I will be more than happy to listen to your exciting presentations. Thank you so much. Back to you, Hamda.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for such inspiring words. I would like to welcome Anas Zainuddin, Executive Director of Krypto Labs.
Thank you, Hamda, and thank you, Your Excellency, Dr. Ahbabi, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed a privilege and a pleasure to welcome you all today to this session of the Global Space Industry Accelerator Framework, which will showcase the talent of the exceptional space startups that are enrolled in the UAE NewSpace Innovation Program. This is a joint initiative by the UAE Space Agency and Krypto Labs, and a first of its kind in the UAE and in the region between a private and a public entity focusing on space tech startups. This program falls under the National Space Investment Promotion Plan, which aims to heighten the role of the space industry in contributing to the economy, while at the same time encouraging a culture of interest in the space sector in efforts to establish a knowledge-based national economy that is built on innovation. And as we see that the UAE is earmarking on a countrywide transformation to a knowledge and innovation-based economy, we firmly believe that these startups, which you will see today presenting, will definitely bring into fruition a remarkable transformation and a positive disruption within the space industry, with the ability to truly nurture the local and international innovation ecosystems. And of course, in alignment with all the values and vision of the father of the nation, Sheikh Zayed, may his soul rest in peace, the UAE aims to lead the scientific movement in the region and reignite the potential of the Emiratis and Arabs in the field of space science. In the UAE, we're very proud that we are one of the world's leading countries in investment in space, in science and technology, with all the recent initiatives that have taken place in the space sector recently. And investing in our entrepreneurs is not only an investment in the scientific achievement, it's also an investment in the future and a recognition which Emiratis can offer to all of mankind. And essentially, these entrepreneurs, these startups, these innovations, they are the backbones of the innovation-based economy that we aspire to further create and nurture here in the UAE. And today we celebrate the cooperation between the Space Agency and Krypto Labs on building this private-public partnership, which clearly aligns with the UAE Space Agency's commitment to positioning the UAE as a global leader in the space sciences. This program and many more of our collective initiatives reflect our efforts in contributing to the local space sector by fostering and supporting the projects of Emirati scientists and entrepreneurs, whose innovations strengthen and accentuate the UAE's global standing as an international hub for scientific achievements and emerging startups. We continuously hold such initiatives with the aim to accelerate and encourage emergence of exceptional ideas, talents, which when equipped with the right formula of mentorship, guidance, and support, and funding, can transform into large-scale products and services that carry the potential to reform the way that we all live. So the UAE Space Agency's continuous support, we endeavor towards supporting scientific research and local talent, whose space exploration innovations will pave the way for positioning the UAE as a leader in space sciences and an exporter of space solutions. So the presence of each and every single one of you today as individuals, as companies, as government employees, all reflects the UAE's commitment to fostering innovation and establishing the UAE as a leading Arab nation in space sciences. Thank you all for your participation today, and we look forward to the rest of the session and the startups that will be giving us a brief pitch as well. Thank you.
Thank you for your words, Anas. Now I would like to welcome Fahad Al-Mheri, Executive Director of Space Sector at the UAE Space Agency. The mic is yours, Fahad.
Thank you very much, Hamda. Thank you, Your Excellency. Thank you very much, Enes. Of course, we could not have been able to do this without the support of Krypto Labs. And we really welcome the welcome really to the GSIA framework launch. Some of you may be wondering why this is a launch, as we've had so many sessions in the past under the GSIA title. The difference is that today we have put a clear plan together based on what we have learned from your feedback and from the experience that we have had talking and working with all of you, and we have integrated it into an existing plan, into existing plans that exist in the nation, as well as from the vision of our UAE Space Strategy 2030 and the real need to drive the space sector forward in the UAE. My name is Fahad Al-Minhari, and I'm proud to be part of the UAE Space Agency today as the acting executive director of the space sector. We've been talking in the past about the crisis and the pandemic in previous sessions, and the best of us always see the opportunities, and it's the mindset of the entrepreneurs that will find the advantages to a situation. We at the UAE Space Agency have done the same. We took the opportunity of ease of accessibility during this pandemic to the public and to the private sector to assess our position, the people's interests and their drive. The Emirates Mars mission, Sbar al-Amal, showcased how space can bring the world together, and now is about opening up and activating and enabling the new space era. So today, what we have is we've been refocusing our efforts towards the Space Investment Promotion Plan. The UAE has set a target for the Vision 2021 and the 2071 to be a leading and pioneering government and country in various economic and social domains. Consequently, the National Space Policy has set a number of principles and goals for the UAE space programs to support and attain that target and vision. The focus today really is on the economic domain, and that, tied in with the National Space Policy, really emphasizes the importance for space programs to be able to grow in the UAE and really push the knowledge-based economy, to enhance the space industry through the contribution and diversification of the UAE economy, and really push to increase the investment and space business in the UAE. The promotion plan aims to achieve these policy directions by defining the UAE approach to facilitate more investments into the UAE and into the space industry, contributing towards the attainment of the UAE goals stated in the UAE Vision and the UAE 2071 plan, and all, of course, part of the fourth industrial revolution. The main focus, of course, is to diversify and ensure sustainability of the UAE economy by promoting productive, knowledge-based economy, provide incentives for R&D and innovation, and encourage entrepreneurship and grow SMEs' role and opportunities in the private sector. Next slide, please. So we have 4 items that we've been focusing on to grow and sustain the UAE space industry. Now, this is part of what we've been doing in developing the space-related industry, the ecosystem in the UAE, support the development of technologies that will create spin-off and access to space data, increase the UAE space sector contribution to the diversification of national economy and to the knowledge-based, and support other national strategic interests. This is all about the education aspect with STEM, focusing on ensuring that we have the growth in the aspects of human capital and provide the possibilities to increase independence in both security and as well access to data. The R&D aspect is, of course, a big point which will drive us into really the know-how and the know-why, and making sure that we are not just a procuring nation moving forward, but one that is actually innovating and driving things forward. Promoting partnerships at both the national and international levels. This is where we come in as the UAE Space Agency to really facilitate that international partnership, the aspect locally between governments, the private sector, academia, and the R&D, and of course the operators that we have today. And it's all about increasing the UAE visibility on the worldwide space arena. When we come to the national space sector strategy, we look into both the exploration and the development, as well as the commercial services that can be offered from the space domain. On the left, you have the R&D, manufacturing, and AIT capabilities, which will then lead into commercial services today offered by ground operators and the value-added services from the data that is made available. Today, we see more and more of the value-added services being provided by local companies, which is great for the growth, and that really identifies the need and interest and the possibilities of a sustainable space economy. The aim is to grow that service backwards, and from the demand that is seen from procuring that data from the suppliers to really establishing those suppliers locally by first gaining access to and tasking commands of available satellites, and then to understand the needs and developing our own satellites, firstly through procurement and operation models, but then going through the KTP or the knowledge transfer programs, which then build up the understanding and the local capabilities in support of course, our STI roadmap, and build those capabilities back into the R&D centers that are existing here today. This is a cycle that we understand and now really aim to focus to accelerate through the private sector. Next slide, please, Hamza. We've started the journey by launching two main initiatives. One, of course, is the GSIA, which most of you are familiar with. And this really has been growing, and it's all about mapping the UAE space industry and looking what and where we stand regionally and globally, generating flow of innovation through the use of our hubs, similar to Krypto Labs and many others across the UAE, looking at the support of access to an investment fund focused towards space, where we have ADGM, Hub 71, Ghaddan, Khalifa Fund, and many others, where we are conducting surveys to study and create partnerships and commercialize initiatives, spreading the awareness of the UAE space industry, supporting education of existing institutional investors, family offices and others, to really get them to understand the space industry and how they can help diversify the investment into that sector. The aspect of diversifying the national economy through space ventures is something we are really focused on. And of course, now creating, the framework with this private-public partnership is where our goal is. Many of you may know we also have the ESIG, which is the Emirates Space and Innovation Group. This was established back in 2016 and has been going on with quarterly meetings. And we have really, it's more focused on academia and the current ongoing projects in the R&D centers we have, where we sit down and promote each other's work, take a look at how we can focus on those. And we've been starting to look at startups and spin-offs. So that's really where the first startups came through last year. And it's been really the aspect of, capabilities and what does exist and where there have been gaps. And we're really happy today in terms of what we're doing and what we have been doing since the pandemic, is to really merge these two together. Go to the next slide, please. Now, when you merge these two together with the UAE Space Agency, taking a look at the STI roadmap, taking a look at the fourth industrial revolution, taking a look at everything we have here today, it really aligns in bringing together the R&D, the innovation, the talent from industry, academia, from students, from entrepreneurs, the technology that exists in the industry today and in the private sector, and looking at commercializing that, looking at how we can innovate and how we can boost that drive. And through that, we can really build this space ecosystem through a knowledge-based economy. So when you look at the whole concept of what we have been doing in the past, it's really all about building that capability and trying to accelerate it. We are going to have 4 of our selected members who have gone through the incubation phase present, and hopefully that shows an introduction to where we are in this historic moment where we are really starting to now focus and push through the UAE Space Agency to support the private sector in growing. It is not anymore for the government sectors to grow or the semi-government sectors to grow, but really the focus today and really starting to push through from the government sector now is the aim to focus on the private sector and figure out how we can make sure we push and support that. So with that, I say really thank you very much for being a part of this journey, and look forward to working with you all in the future. With a big thank you again to Krypto Labs for all their support in helping us make this happen. And of course, Nasser al-Rashidi and his amazing team for making all this possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Fahad, for such an insightful presentation. I would like to welcome now Nasser al-Rashidi, Director of Space Policy and Regulations at the UAE Space Agency and the GSIA Program Director, to give us more details about the GSIA framework and to moderate the panel discussion with the GSIA partners.
Thank you. And Hamda, I think I will upload the slides from my end. Thank you very much, dear Fahad and Your Excellencies, and the previous, of course, speaker, Anas. Thanks for all the participants for their time. And, I would say special thanks for the partners that are being with us here today on the round table. I don't know if I would like to just introduce them. And these are what we call actually champions, space economy champions, who actually helped us through the whole development as well as the execution and inshallah in the next steps of realizing the objectives and goals of what we call the Global Space Industry Accelerator. We have with us Qusay Abdul Wahab from the ICT Fund, Adnan Al-Rayis from Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center, Umar Al-Mahmoud from ICT Fund, Mariam Musallam from DED, Steve Burnett from ADGM, and Elodie Robin from Hub 71, and last but not least, Anas Zinedine, who spoke earlier from Krypto Labs. And this is just, of course, what we call few of the champions actually of this program who helped us through the development, through even the designing of the program, and then even running the program, and potentially, inshallah, realizing the objectives and integrating that to the overall pictures of each of these organization strategy. Before we start actually the roundtable discussions, I would like to actually give a little bit brief about the GSIA, which we are celebrating today, the launch of it. And here you go. Can you see the screen? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So as mentioned earlier by His Excellency Fahad Al-Maheri, that this is actually a translation of what came on the National Space Strategy 2030 that talks about enhancing the space contribution to the UAE economy, and in particular, knowledge and innovation-based economy. This was later on, of course, as mentioned earlier, translated into the National Space Investment Promotion Plan. And one of the key steps that was mentioned as part of the National Space Investment Promotion Plan launched by the Space Agency was to create such acceleration and incubation program, what we call actually entrepreneurship and space innovation catalyst, to actually drive that movement. And frankly speaking, it was very clear when we were doing the Space Investment Promotion Plan that was one of the key gaps that existed today. The space sector in the UAE has several achievements, but for sure there were some gaps that were needed to be fulfilled through partnership and effective partnership to enable the next era of what we call the UAE space economy. So the GSIA actually consists of four main components. Number one is to actually create a program through a manual or a framework. And what we've realized that there were a number of great initiatives around, but there wasn't a real program for accelerating and incubation, space entrepreneurship and innovation. And we needed a reference even manual to be able to identify where we are today, how are we doing things today, and make sure that we consistently do it. And then if there are lessons learned, we can always incorporate them and so on. So that's what we are celebrating today, which is the framework and the manual of how we are running this program in the UAE. What's very interesting is that the program and the framework is not actually based on a physical presence of a particular incubation or acceleration program. It is leveraging what exists today in the UAE, what Krypto Labs has been doing, what Hub 71 is doing, what DFF in Dubai has been doing, what Mohammed bin Rashid SME program is doing, what DED is doing under TIPS, what ICT Fund is doing in terms of funding. So it's really leveraging what exists to the UAE and try to integrate that, integrate the space, requirements and priorities in that perspective within that overall picture. And that was one of the key things that we learned from the first workshop that we have done with our stakeholders in Krypto Labs earlier this year. The second component in there was actually to conduct an IP survey. We wanted to know what patents today exist that are relevant to space, that has been developed by our space economy and our space ecosystem today here in the UAE. So to leverage that and find out which of these IPs can actually be monetized and potentially spin off, as mentioned by His Excellency Fahad Al-Mheri. So that was an exercise. We thought we can find this in one place, but it seems that these are also scattered. So we're also building into that. And this helps us to see the opportunities and really monetize all the amazing funding and amazing efforts that are done in the UAE on the R&D side, as mentioned earlier by Fahad, how we are linking the ESIG, which focus on space R&D and science, to actually commercialize that and entrepreneur that through the GSIA program. The third thing actually that we've done through this program, which is entrepreneurs in the end, they're trying to find innovative solutions that are basically replying to industry needs, whether it's in the transport or the environment or in the space or in the telecom. In the end, there are some certain challenges that are looking for innovative solutions that today probably are very costly or do not even exist. So this list of challenges were not there. And what we're working towards through this framework was actually to capture and meet with the different stakeholders and try to consolidate all these solutions that are being looked for, or challenges that industries have, and they're looking for space applications or technologies that they can actually tap into and provide an effective solution, an innovative solution as well. The third thing is that we run an actual incubation program this year, where we're trying to graduate 4 Emirati startups. Last but not least is actually to put a thesis, a proposal for what we say space dedicated fund. So today we have a number of funds that exist in the UAE and we are leveraging on that, but we are looking at the idea, why not to have space specialized funds for various benefits to that. So this is the main components that basically consolidate the GSIA initiative. So what are we offering through our program? So through this program, we support, through what we say actually government, have access to government research institutes and funds. We facilitate these. We facilitate also venture-friendly legislation and incentives. You have access, if you're joining this program, you have access to networks for entrepreneurs, innovators, mentors, access to even potential clients and cooperation, access to clients, educational and training, for that could be relevant of this startup as well as entrepreneur, access to labor, facilitating access to labor, infrastructure. Whether you are using as a beginning, you're looking for, an incubation premises or acceleration premises, but also later on to help you move into something, let me say, attractive, like the environment in, ADGM or Mohammed bin Rashid, Aerospace Hub, and other places that actually can be attractive for you to open your business along with number of incentives. So these are just a map of the different components that we bring in through the GSIA, trying to link all these advantages and incentives in one place through the GSIA program. And with this, we're able to easily create what we call the space entrepreneurship ecosystem. This is the overall process on how are we translating the needs to what we call a disruptive space UAE industry. So we have either IPs that exist, as we mentioned earlier, or we have some space technologies that our space industry is after, or we even have clients from other sectors that have certain challenges that they are looking for space applications or solutions that they can probably solve, space data or sensors and so on. And then we basically try to filter this and try to map this to internal challenges, to future strategies, to market demand, and filter that and be able to take the successful ones through certain criteria that we're going to explain later, and take them through an acceleration program or venture builder program, and potentially either graduate them as a startup, or actually could eventually be acquired, or maybe stand alone as a company that will grow to next phases, or maybe spin off to be part of another sector, another industry. And this is the overall impact that we're trying to reach in here. You can see number of examples of external supporters that we have, as well as what are we providing here at the space agency, from process facilitations, from access to clients, access to funds, facilitating and coordinating and incentivizing all these things to our entrepreneurs. The application process is really what we're bidding on. We have gone from 151 applications for 2020 program. Now, what's interesting is that the topics that entrepreneurs were proposing their innovative solutions for was actually related to the UAE space STI that Adam Hiri was referring to. These are certain technologies that our space industry is looking for. And potentially we have already mapped these innovative solutions, and companies that are bidding in here to actually already have a technology that is required by our UAE market. We were able, through certain criteria that is based on best practices, to filter from 151 to top 4 applications. You can see the different rounds that we're taking. And again, thanks for all of our partners who supported us in here. So what has been achieved so far? We developed the framework. We have an investment thesis. We were able to conduct more than 23 meetings with different public and private and collecting the market challenges. We already looked at the different IPs that exist today, and we're still working with Ministry of Economy for more. We have reached out to more than 44,000 entrepreneurs. We are done more than 13 university roadshows, and now we are actually growing for entrepreneurs. And I know that at least one of them has already got a grant, or maybe a couple of grants from other programs after we have incubated them. So this is just showing how, alhamdulillah, the criteria for selecting them is promising, which means other grants, after we incubated them, even were supportive of them and provided them with funds. KPIs. So in the end, for us, what we are looking for is an impact. However, before impact, we also look at performance. So we're moving, inshallah, soon from performance towards an overall impact. So, and for us to measure our successful stories is always about how many applications this program is being received by entrepreneurs globally. And this shows the interest, and how also our outreach program is effective enough. How many have been incubated, and number of startups that graduated, and the funds deals that has happened, and the foreign direct investment deals that also happened related to these startups. And last but not least, how many non-space entities are actually benefiting from the startups that we have created. So the way forward, we are continuing, of course, with our the 3 main pillars: the venture builder and the space accelerator and the space funds. We are identifying industry challenges. We'll continue to do this, and this is one of the things that our entrepreneurs are looking for, and making sure from day one, whatever innovative solutions that came up is actually solving a problem with needs and potentially scalable. We are still continuing, and we'll continue to look at the IPs here in the space, and we are going to be looking for a 5-year plan on how to move in here. This is the slide just to explain where we were and where we're going. In 2019, we did a pilot through the Geotech Innovation Program. And the program here focused on space data only, geospatial data only. And the target was to do this with 2 startups that graduate from it. This program was fully funded by the Space Agency, 100% by the Space Agency Fund. In 2020, we moved from 100% fund and from only geospatial to a partnership, 50-50 if you like to say, with Krypto Labs. And that's a believing from an incubator industry on the space innovation and matching with the Space Agency government fund in here. And that we moved now from 2 startups to 4 startups that we are hoping to graduate, but not only in geospatial, but rather on all the STI areas that we are looking for. Now, our aim for 2021 is to actually even have less contribution from the government and really have more from the industry, and other funds by trying as much as possible to satisfy the challenges and the solutions that they are looking for and expecting from space. And in that case, it will be even responding not just to the STI technologies, but even industry challenges on other sector. This is where we moving, inshallah, forward. Thank you so much. And with this introduction, I think we can move to the round table, Hamda, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I would like to start by again welcoming Qusay, Adnan, Omar, Mariam, Steve, and Eludi, and last but not least, Anas for the round table. And I will actually like to move directly to key questions that would like to ask related to the role of your respectful entities and the valuable partnership that we have also felt and enjoyed through our journey here. The first question actually is to Qusay Abdul Wahab from Khalifa Fund. As one of the strategic partners of the GSIA and a vital contributor to the success of this program, what are, in your view, the potential trends with entrepreneur ecosystem that will further support the UAE thriving space sector? Qusay, if you can please.
Assalamu alaikum, Nasser. Thank you all for giving us this opportunity to participate and contribute. And we look forward for future collaboration and future success, inshallah. In regards to your question, Nasser, from an entrepreneur perspective, the UAE is well positioned and has the necessary infrastructure to capitalize on an anticipated improved economic growth. And this is coupled by diverse skills development. Of course, this is once the dust settles post-COVID-19. If executed properly, we could see the following potential trends within the ecosystem. One, UAE sees shift in employment from public to private, and a lowering average age of entrepreneurs occurring within a larger business community. So this is an important shift. The second trend is business-friendly policies are introduced, supporting by a strong investment community, leading to a lowered cost of failure. And this is something that further adds value and further pushes the entrepreneurial activity. The third trend, the financial and business support is more customized, with the UAE attracting new capital and specialists to the region. And this is one of the things that you've talked about earlier, Nasser, in regards to the thesis, the space fund thesis. Definitely, again, this is something also we can support you. There's a lot of lessons learned in the past 14 years with Khalifa Fund. There's a lot of lessons learned that we can share with you so that you can develop a much more impactful fund towards that, achieving your goals, of course. And the fourth trend is more data, e-services, and information is accessible under the knowledge-based economy focus. And this is also one thing that we see there is a major need or a demand by entrepreneurs to access knowledge, to access information and data, to provide better solutions towards their startups. But these are, we see them as Khalifa Fund, the key four trends, of course, if implemented properly.
Thank you, Qusay. And I'm really now looking at each one of the points you mentioned, whether, moving the employment from government to privatization, having the attractive policy in place, customized funding and customized financial, and open data, and availability of data that, one of the challenges that even businesses today are really sometimes complaining about, trying to find data for markets so they can actually focus into that. Well taken, and thanks again for that contribution. And I would like to actually recognize the presence with us, of course, here of Adnan Al-Rais from Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center. And as a UAE, achieving a major milestone for the space industry this July, reflecting, of course, on the MMM. I would like to have your thoughts, Adnan, on that, and how's that linked to the creation of an ecosystem and entrepreneurship here in the UAE, specifically in the space field?
First of all, thank you very much, Nasser, for inviting me to be part of this roundtable, and also special thanks to His Excellency Dr. Mohammed Al-Ahbabi and the team at the UAE Space Agency for leading the sector to establish the space ecosystem through the policy that you've developed, and also through the investment promotion plan, followed by tangible steps through the GSIA program, ESIG, and many other initiatives and programs to transfer the plan into reality. So special thanks to Space Agency and to you, Nasser, for that. When it comes to the Mohammed Baraj Space Center, as you know that we're working on the implementation of the UAE National Space Program, from the satellite development program, the Earth observation programs that we have, and to Emirates Mars mission that was launched successfully and now is currently on the way to Mars. And also we have the UAE astronaut program, as well as the Mars 2117, the 100 years strategy to build settlement on Mars and sending humans to Mars. So as we can see that we have a sustainable program, a long vision set by our leadership in the country when it comes to the space. So when you have a long vision program and we have a sustainable program, you definitely need to have also the space ecosystem well established locally, with all the infrastructure and tools and all elements needed, so that our space industry and the ecosystem that we have here in the country contributes effectively in all those programs that we have when it comes to development of the space segment, ground segment, human space flights, sending human in the future to Mars and beyond. So definitely we have many opportunities. And this is actually a message that I would like to send to the startups, entrepreneurs that are participating today in this call, is that it's important to have the accelerator programs. It's important to have the financial institutions that can support these startups when they become independent. Definitely you need to have that funding mechanism in place. You need to have the mentorship and all of that. And the most important thing is the opportunities, actual opportunities. Because at the end of the day, this is what any startup and company is looking for, is at the end of the day to sign contracts and deals and having opportunities in the market. And through the UAE National Space Program and the different projects that we have the opportunities. And as Mohammed Baraj Space Center, we're very open in terms of working with the local industry and the startups in a number of initiatives and a number of projects. We're glad to meet some of the graduates from this acceleration program. I can say that very excellent teams, high caliber, great experience that they have, and covering, in fact, different aspects when it comes to the advanced space systems, to the advanced development of the tools for the ground segments, and how to work with data and analyze data. And we're exploring with them all those opportunities, and we're looking forward to have, at the end of the day, tangible agreements to take this collaboration to the next step. So again, thank you, Nasser, and the team of the Space Agency for the great initiative here.
Thank you so much, Adnan, for this vital insights, honestly. And I really like how you made this almost like a life cycle. Ecosystems requires a clear plan that with a long vision, but also the sustainability of that plan and realizing that plan requires a compatible and appropriate ecosystem. So that relationship is very important. And honestly, I would like to take the opportunity here to thank MBRC, who were with us from the beginning of designing this program, and even the selection of the entrepreneurs and going through the selection in there, and also supporting us even with the mentoring of these startups. And I also hear great feedback from the 4 startups about the collaboration with MBRC on realizing some potentials to work with you in national projects under your programs like 2117, as well as the National Space Program. So thank you again, Adnan, and for MBRC in general, for your vital support and hands-on on the program. Now, I would like to move to our distinguished panelist, Omar Al-Mahmoud. And I want to actually, recognize what ICT Fund has done really to enable the space program through very vital and major support for national programs and even establishment of centers. National Space Science and Technology Center in Al Ain has been established jointly by the ICT Fund and the UAE Space Agency and the UAE University. And I would like to ask you kindly, Mr. Omar Al-Mahmoud, if you can share with us what is the ICT Fund position in nurturing the space ecosystem in the UAE, and how are you supporting our entrepreneurs?
Sure.
Please.
Thank you, of course, my brother Nasser, and for having us today as ICT Fund. And also I'd like to thank His Excellency Dr. Mohammed Nasser Al-Ahbabi, who opened up today's session. So with regards to what the ICT Fund is doing with regards to nurturing and supporting the space ecosystem, of course, we look at the space sector as a complement of the ICT sector in the country. And how we've been doing that initially with the ICT sector was to develop 4 main outcomes on any ecosystem. So we see the Space Center having the same ecosystem. We fit hand in hand with what the ecosystem in the space sector is. So when we look at the ecosystem, we look at it through 4 specific pillars. One is human capital. The second is intellectual property. The third is industry or startups here in our case. And fourth, of course, national initiatives or flagstone initiatives. And I'll explain some more when it comes to what we mean by when it comes to the space sector. So with how we've been nurturing and supporting the ecosystem related spaces, we've been partnering up, of course, with you, of course, NASA and the Space Agency in developing the next, you can say, generation of engineers who will work in the space sector. We've been doing that with our scholarship programs, our joint scholarship program with you and the Space Agency, and in addition to other players in the ecosystem. Also, we've been working with universities in developing their labs when it comes to having the right equipment related to the space programs, such as the nanocubes, which they have, which have been, of course, in conjunction with of course, the Space Agency. And of course, we have seen this also with our good partners with Mohammed Barashi Space Center, and their attempt also with the local universities here in the country by setting up also some labs in conjunction with the space missions which we have in the country. When it comes to also fostering, when you mentioned in the beginning on how do we foster innovation, or how do we foster, for example, entrepreneurs, prior to becoming an entrepreneur, most of the entrepreneurs we've seen in the GSIA program was some of them are either affiliated with the university or started their concept of their startup within a university framework. So we actually think that the start should be at the university, such as an R&D program or an R&D project, or such as the R&D center we set up jointly with the Space Agency and the UAE University. So the National Space Center and Al Ain University for us is a conduit for all the initiatives we may have. For example, the students who are studying space-related majors, or researchers who want to deploy or explore topics and themes related to space. They can do that within the center. And then, of course, we can also have spin-offs coming out of the Space Center itself. Once you have all these building blocks put together under one roof. So then you would have IP coming out continuously based on this human capital, which are the students or the researchers, and also with the research projects which go on. And of course, to have all this happening, you would have, of course, step one, you need a space roadmap and a space program for the country, for this center to actually deploy these programs. Well, this brings us to the last point, which I wanted to share on how to foster, you can say, innovation and support space entrepreneurs, is if you have the flagship programs up and running, such as the 2117 initiative, or for example the GSIA, or even having, for example, the astronaut launch, which the UAE had last year. All this creates this ripple effect on having people wanting to jump on board the spaceship, as we say. Not the literal spaceship, but the actual spaceship and the ecosystem which we have. So one example is supporting entrepreneurs who maybe by opening up doors to the Space Center in UAE University, and we've done that. And also we've done that with my good friend Adnan Rais and Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center, where they are exploring 2117. And also with, for example, today, I think one of the panelists is Engineer Hamid, who will, I think, share more about his story later on down the road, and how we managed to support opening up the doors when it comes as ICT Fund to have entrepreneurs be part of these either space missions or a possible satellite. So all of that happens once you have as we mentioned, our ecosystem formula, which is a human capital, by either sending students abroad or having them studying space-related studies, by setting up the right facilities, the R&D facilities to generate IP, and then of course having programs such as the GSIA program to have a continuous stream of startups and ecosystem to generate a local homebred space sector, or private space sector. And then of course, when you have these flagship programs, they will act as a North Star for everyone to head towards or to be part of that. So that is kind of what we think an ICT Fund is, how to foster innovation for space entrepreneurs.
Dear Omar, thank you again for your clear explanation about your vision and your role as an ICT Fund. And again, I must thank you. I was attending one of the meetings that we were looking for some guidance from ICT Fund with one of our entrepreneurs. And I remember that you didn't just give a guidance on how they can actually unlock some opportunities. And in few hours, you actually matched our entrepreneur with 3 main pillars. You matched them with the Ministry of Economy to quickly try to register their patents. You matched them with MBRC with an ambitious UAE program related to 2117, because it was related to that entrepreneur, as well as you matched them with an existing facility here in the UAE, such as Strata, who can support the manufacturing and doing a local content here and moving that technology by that entrepreneur that is developed outside to come here in the UAE. I can't thank you enough for this. You're not just a fund, you are an enabler. You're not just giving a guidance, but you're actually facilitating and unlocking opportunities for the startups. So thank you again. And with this, I would like to move to our to DED, the Department of Economic Development of Abu Dhabi, who again has been a real partner with us, and who even supported us with approaching a bigger database of entrepreneurs, and even helped us with guidance on the future, looking on how to measure and how to have a standard and a reference of what we call TRL. So with this, I would like to give the floor to Mariam Abdurrahman Musallam to tell us DED, who has been a strategic partner 4 years with the Space Agency in various aspects, and one of them is enabling innovation and entrepreneurship. Could you kindly reflect on this? And given that the GSIA program engagement, and also if you could share with us your perspective on the future and how you see the DED role in the flourishment of this program GSIA, and integrating it with other activities like TIPS that you are successfully leading in the UAE. Please, Mariam, the floor is yours.
Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies. Before we start answering the question, basically, I would like to extend our appreciation to the UAE Space Agency for inviting us for the launch of the GSIA framework. Indeed, our partnership has enriched the innovation ecosystem, not only for the space SME and entrepreneurs, but also for rising startups in space-related sectors. And if I may answer your questions in two parts, I would like to reflect on the value of our partnership under the GSIA umbrella, as we believe that scouting for talents is a key for the success of any innovation program. So we aim to put our channels and databases into benefits when the GSIA was in search for talents for the incubation program, the UAE NewSpace Innovation Program, where we have facilitated an access to over 40,000 entrepreneurs in UAE. And we have also provided a credible perspective basically into the jury panel to select startups that we listened to their pitch, and also we have presented and explained the scale for the technology readiness level, and in particular for the space sector. I also would like to mention that our joint effort to map the industry challenges through the identification of the obstacles in today's market, and through a series of meetings that involve all technical team members, and also through participation in the GSIA executive workshop back in February. And another main pillar of your project was also the commercialization of the IP. Basically, it is an important topic that we believe that needs more dedicated efforts and more partners. Basically, it needs an attention to transform those IPs, such as patents, copyright, and industrial design, into smart applications that are commercially viable and ready to enter and compete in the market. We are glad to be able to assist the UAE Space Agency in its pursuit to make that a reality, which will, of course, result in more companies in the sector, more employment opportunities and investment, and eventually nurturing the fourth industrial revolution with rising startup from the R&D labs. And at the end, I would like to congratulate you all for such achievement for the launch of the framework of the GSIA. Thank you, Nasser.
Thank you so much, Mariam. And again, my best regards also to our friend Salim and Shibaib, who's really been also an early adopter for, and supporter of this program, and give us a lot of guidance. And we are very keen also to look at your TRL reference. And I think this is a gap that exists today. When we also established this program, we thought that there was a common standard of what a TRL means in the different levels across the UAE. But we find that it was just an understanding, but there isn't an actual reference. So I think what DED is working on today in terms of putting a reference standards of the different levels, and to have a common language among all the different players who are contributing towards innovation and potentially commercialization of that innovation, to have a reference and speak the same language when they say level 4 or level 3 and so on, and ready to go to market and so on. I think that will be very viable, not just for Abu Dhabi, but for the whole UAE. And we're looking forward to hear about the outcomes and the final product. With this, I would like to actually move to our next panelist here, which is Steve Barnett, a good friend from Abu Dhabi global market. And just earlier this year, we held a workshop with the Luxembourg Space Agency, where we worked in partnership with the ADGM and with under their host actually, to have a big workshop or a seminar where we invited space investors and space entrepreneurs and startups and other companies as well from both the UAE and Luxembourg. And that was hosted in ADGM, and talking about how can we incentivize and encourage and have an environment that is enabling the space business and entrepreneurship. And I think today, as per the agenda, inshallah, we're going to celebrate a collaboration between and partnership between the UAE Space Agency and ADGM on this regard. And as one of the strategic partners for the GSIA and contributor for the success of this program, we would like to actually learn about your views on the potential trends within the entrepreneurial ecosystem that will further support the UAE thriving space sector. Steve, if you can please shed some light on this.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Nasser, and thank you to His Excellency Dr. Mohammed Al-Ahbabi for all his leadership and guidance around this. It was a delight to work together on the Luxembourg UAE proposition earlier this year, and I found it a really exciting event where the commercialization of space, I think, is such a shared vision between the two countries that it really is exciting what we can do. From an ADGM perspective, as you know, we're an international financial center that has really been established based on the direct application of English common law as a place which is designed to be conducive to innovation and entrepreneurship. For us, innovation started with our sponsorship of the first real push into fintech in this region, the development of regulatory sandboxes and a digital laboratory, which is supporting the growth of innovation in that space. And that's led to the building of a comprehensive ecosystem which has used case studies, challenges, and real push to encourage innovation in that space. That's led to the application of innovation in a wide range of other areas. We've built an incubation ecosystem, including people like Plug and Play, New York University, our partners here with Hub 71, the DED, Mubadala, and UAE University. We have the physical space with WeWork and Hub 71. We have people like SoftBank, Microsoft, KPMG Digital Village, Techstars working with us to support and encourage innovation and to provide the guidance and infrastructure that those innovators need in order to be successful. Although we started in fintech, really it's gone much beyond that. And we've extended into many other verticals. We work very closely with Department of Health on the Health Tech Accelerator. We work with the Abu Dhabi Investment Office around their pushes into verticals like agri-tech and education technology. And we've seen major firms coming in to support all of this. So we have now 9 of the globally significant banks. We've built a very strong venture capital ecosystem as well. It's been one of our fastest growing sectors, venture capital. And as you know, one of the biggest challenges for venture capital in this region is access to good projects, things which are really innovative and are going to be commercial in nature. And I think that the space sector is one of those areas where we really differentiate ourselves around this. I did a webinar recently with the Middle East Venture Capital Association, and the thing that they stressed was that there's huge competition amongst venture capital providers for fantastic projects. And they will support people, not just in the way that the big financial institutions will. They'll support people with more than money. They'll support them with guidance, with mentorship, with connections as well into the rest of the ecosystem. So that venture capital side of things, I think, has been very important for us in many sectors, not least the space side of things. And what we're seeing now is the build out of that into angel investment as well. And we're supporting that angel network and the growth of that, because a lot of the venture capital firms are starting at a much later point than seed. And what we're looking to do is to not constrain that growth by missing out on those seed projects, which are going to turn into the next decade's unicorns. So we as ADGM as well have provided for this. We've put in place a startup licensing structure and a growth phase licensing structure. It's really reassuring to see others in the region take what we've done and try and replicate that. But that first mover advantage has been hugely important for us. In the first couple of years of starting that startup support network, we've licensed more than 250 firms that are already innovating within an ADGM context. We've also supported them through these difficult times of COVID. And I think that this innovation side of things, where you can be more flexible, where you can provide for more encouragement, where innovation is going to be the future of the economy, this has been a great time. We should never waste a good crisis. And I think that this link between new dimensions, new spheres, innovation, and the support that you provide around that is going to put us in a very good position for the future of our economy. I mentioned at the start of this, not just did we build a regulatory sandbox for the fintech, but we've also put in place now a digital laboratory, which will launch at our fintech festival coming up in November. this is providing a place where innovators can work together, can collaborate on the bringing together of existing technologies and new technologies, can test it in a regulated environment using standardized APIs. And this will be available not just to the financial services sector, but to other industries as well. And moving forward, as we encourage more and more innovators, and we encourage collaboration between innovators and with existing players, I think this is going to be a really important tool. So bottom line, as ADGM, we're designed as a place that encourages innovation. We work together very closely with our partners in Abu Dhabi to do that, and with the financing side of things to make sure that people have the lifeblood, which really encourages that future innovation. And we're delighted to work with the Space Agency to deliver that in this sector.
Thank you so much, Steve. And indeed, what ADGM is doing is actually becoming a real global hub for entrepreneurs and international business. But I also recognize that you're also the host of innovation initiative related to Ghadan 21, Hub 71, which is focusing on attracting space startups and creating content here and ecosystems related to digital as well as technology and advanced technology in general. And I would like to actually move to Elodie Roman, who's been with us even in the design of this program and actually augmenting this with what is happening under Hub 71 under the acceleration program, the so-called Starburst. Last year, the program graduated 2 space startups, and we're very interested to hear your views about the relationship, how you see NewSpace incubation program relationship with the acceleration program that is run by Hub 71 and Starburst in specific, and what is the future?
Thank you, Nasser, for your kind introduction. I think that a lot has been said by the previous panelists, and I totally agree. When we started this journey, it was 2 years ago. Hub 71 was just launched, and I remember that we were brainstorming with yourself and Talal about how to create, this ecosystem and how especially to not only build this ecosystem, but find a way that we really worked all together in a collaborative way. And I think that hard work has been done in the last 2 years, and I'm very proud that Good Times at Hub 71 is now part of this GSIA network. I would like to present quickly what we do at Hub 71. Sure. So our vision and mission is really to support the growth of the knowledge economy in the UAE, in the aerospace, space, and defense vertical. So our mission is to source and to basically create bridges between the diverse tech hub in the world and the UAE. So we work deeply with Silicon Valley and a network of investors where you'll find a lot of investors dedicated to investing in new space. We work also with the different tech hub, of course, in North America, but also in Europe, to be able to convince, the startups that are trying to scale their business in a very crowded place to come to the UAE, to settle their offices in the UAE. And our vision is not that they just want to open, a rep office or a sales office in the UAE to address regional markets. We are talking about space. So we want them to come, to stay, to bring their R&D to the tech, to the country, to support the ecosystem and to address a global market. That's our vision. So we just launched this Sunday our second cohort where we'll be hosting 8 companies. And I can tell you that it's been a real headache to be able to put this program under the current circumstances. And I'm very proud to say that the 8 companies, meaning 20 people, will fly from all over the world in the next 2 weeks. And coming first into Abu Dhabi. And I can tell you, they were like really
under these circumstances, this is a real achievement. This just shows how attractive your program is, to be honest. Wow.
Thank you. And this was important for us. When we discussed with our partner, Mubadala and Hub 71, like everyone was telling me, okay, Elodie, just turn it remote. That's fine. Everyone is doing it remote. And I was like, no, because I want them to feel what we are doing here on the ground and why they should stay in the UAE. And I can say that we had a very incredible support from ADGM, as we were saying, Steve. that really enable, like a legal framework for these companies to come and to stay and to settle offices in the UAE. Incredible support from Hub 71 and all their partners to be able to support, through their incentive program and help them to stay in the UAE and to have the UAE as their second home. And also incredible support from the UAE Space Agency, of course, who has always been on our side, because as Adnan from NBRSC was saying, and I totally agree with that, we need to have these people, coming, and it's the same thing for the local entrepreneurs. We need them to focus on getting a pilot, something concrete, operations on the ground, because that's when you bring, credibility to the tech, to your venture, that's where you will attract investors, A lot of our companies are coming to us and asking us, okay, we need to do fundraising. What is our fundraising strategy? Will you help us? How will we do for our Series A? And I'm like, guys, focus on the business. That's what brings money and bring investors. And as previously Omar was saying, I don't believe that money is an issue. Well, of course, it's always an issue, but we can find a lot of ways to make it happen. The most important thing is the networks, the connections, and the willingness of the people from this network, to support and really to make it happen. And I think that the UAE for this is like the perfect place, because we are able, thanks to your great support, to have connection directly to the decision makers. And if we bring the right, tech in line with the government strategy, we can really make it happen. And we are very proud that last year, our 4 companies decided to stay. That despite the pandemic, 2 of them were able to raise more than 20 million of funding for their Series A, which was really a great achievement, especially in the hardware sector. And we are very excited to launch our next cohort and to see how we can leverage all the gentlemen and ladies around the table to grow bigger our ecosystem in the UAE.
Thank you so much, Elodie, and congratulations for your continuous achievement. And honestly, Starburst was an acceleration of an acceleration program. I couldn't imagine last year that the initiative was announced. I can remember probably July, August, and in September you run the first program. I salute you for this. And now you surprise us with another achievement by being able to bring the team and travel with this environment, which remind me of the experience Anas and myself had with this incubation program that we're running, which we call NewSpace, under the COVID, where we had to move everything from physical to digital. So we start doing things through webinars. We start doing the mentoring through Zoom, and move the whole program digitally. And it just gives me the chance to move to Anas and ask him about you now run the second round of a space incubation program, incubating ideas and actually graduate them as startups. In 2019, you succeeded with the partnership of the Space Agency for graduating 2 startups, incubating them. And, 2020, we're moving for another 4, in addition to actually an education startup in space that you've also created, Lab Secretary. So I want your feedback on that, lessons learned, and what do you see the next steps towards success and continuation of such incubation program? Please, Anas, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Nasser, for this. And I believe a lot of what I would want to say, or what I have to say, I guess, has already been said by Steve, Elodie, yourself, and various other speakers during this session and the previous. But basically, I guess first and foremost, it's very, very inspiring and very exciting to be working specifically in the space tech field. Incubators, accelerators, they generally do many other verticals, and so do we. I mean, we do drones, and we do education, we do a whole bunch. Space is a very special sector and a very special field. It's one of the ones that is not as seldom understood, particularly I guess in this region, because it's relatively new. We commend the leadership of the UAE for putting space at the forefront. The work that you're doing at the UAE Space Agency in terms of the the space investment and promotion plan, I think with what this is doing is this is really creating an opportunity out of absolutely nothing that existed before. This is the fun thing. This is the exciting part, and this is what provides opportunities, because now you're identifying all of these programs. You're creating a lot of awareness. You're getting startups and entrepreneurs to think of something and build something that if these programs did not exist, they probably would not. I mean, an entrepreneur is an entrepreneur. So if he's not working on a space tech idea, he's probably working on health tech or fintech or something. So the fact that you have a vertical and then you have this, supporting framework for space technology, this will definitely influence entrepreneurs, students, young professionals, even startups to pursue these fields and to pursue these particular ideas. And this is what we found with a lot of the applications that we have received. I mean, quite frankly, a lot of people, they had zero experience in space tech, and they came up with an idea, and it was a very well validated idea, and they made it into the batch. And now they're working on it could be a revolutionary idea in space technologies. So this is the most exciting aspect of it, and this also shows you the true potential of human beings and the mental capability and the talent that they possess, knowingly or unknowingly, because a lot of these guys probably 6 months ago never thought that they would be sitting here today, in the next few minutes, presenting about their current space tech idea and the work that they've done. So definitely having the programs in place is extremely important, in terms of having a vision, whether it's by the government or by the private sector. Number two, in terms of incubators and accelerators, I mean, from our experience, with the first round of when we did the GSIA Innovation Program and we had the two startups, I see one of the founders is right on the screen, right in front of my eyes, Dr. Ali of Farman. So I guess the most important thing is it's not so much about creating that startup, supporting it. It's really more about how do you help it sustain afterwards. We see a lot of startups that go through various incubation programs, and then after the program is done, they're let go. And I think this is the biggest loss to both the startup and the innovation ecosystem. So there has to be a continuity of that support always to the startups. Whether it's through continuous funding, whether it's through networking, pilot projects play a very, very important role in helping the startup continue, test their product, further validate their MVP and so on. And so I think that part of it is extremely important, and also bringing in the appropriate subject matter experts, the advisors, the mentors, people who actually have experience in that particular field, people who have a diverse background that can help the startup, be able to steer and maneuver and potentially pivot if they're eventually going to, hit a stumbling block at some point. So all of that, has to be together in place. Again, the government and the private sector facilitating the support, the incubators and accelerators playing a key role, and also facilitating through mentors, investors, advisors, partners, and so on, so that these particular space tech startups have a very well developed roadmap that leads them to success.
Nasser, you're on mute.
Okay, I guess I'm another victim of this of the system, trying to get used to it. Yes, thank you, Abu Muhammad, and again, thank you, Anas, for your insights. And really, I think we've shown some sort of innovation here in running a program with all the COVID challenges, and at some point we were questioning how we're gonna this run, but it's actually we took the advantage of this, and we turned it to an opportunity and reaching out to even a bigger community and being able to mentor the different entrepreneurs under the program with more sessions, giving the advantage of independence of location and time. So we're able to reach out to our entrepreneurs at various times. Different mentors were able to have various sessions, and alhamdulillah, I think we are I think on the 16th we're going to have a pitch day with also external investors. So that's a big test. Let's see how that goes. I think I would like to give the floor back to Hamda, but before that, I would really like to thank all the panelists for their support throughout the design and rollout of this program, but also for their valuable insights today and frank, feedback on what has been achieved, as well as where should we be focusing on our GSIA program. With this, Hamda, please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Nasser, and all the panelists for such an inspiring session. For the sake of time, we'll have a slight shift in agenda. So we will be honored today to witness the signing of the MOU between the UAE Space Agency and Abu Dhabi Global Market. This MOU signifies a commitment to innovation, partnership, and promotion of the UAE space industry, and to attract space sector entities and investors to the UAE. Please welcome to signing His Excellency Dr. Mohammed Al-Ahbabi, Director General of the UAE Space Agency, and Mr. Zahar bin Zahar, Chief Executive Officer of Abu Dhabi Global Market. Your Excellency and Mr. Zahar, we kindly ask you to sign the MOU.
اوكي. الاخ ظاهر موجود؟
نعم.
السلام عليك، كيف حالك؟
اهلا وسهلا.
الله يسلمك. حياك. فرصة طيبة طال عمرك ان نلتقي يعني ريموتلي، لكن مشكورين على جهودكم ويعني thank you so much for supporting يعني what we try to achieve.
Thank you. It's a pleasure and it's an honor for us to collaborate with the space agency in order to support all their journey in terms of attracting investors, the startups, in terms of innovation within this sector. And thank you again.
Okay, I think we will proceed, Hamda, now with.
Thank you, Your Excellency, Dr. Mohammed Al-Ahbabi and Mr. Zahar bin Zahar for your continued support and contributions toward the space industry.
Thank you.
So now I would like back.
I think, Hamda, now I think we are going to take a photo of the signing.
So just to have a proof that I did sign, so it's on the screen. I'm not sure, but I have some people who are witnessing this. It's a great, and congratulations to everyone who are involved in this exercise and this initiatives. And I think this is simplify the teamwork between the local entities and government entities and private sector, academia, everyone who is interested to promote space activities. Thank you so much for everyone.
Thank you, Your Excellency. And if we can have also, yes, the same tablet, from His Excellency Dr. Zahar. Thank you.
So we have to do.
Thank you.
Sign.
Thank you, Your Excellency.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Thanks, Your Excellency, Dr. Mohammed Al-Ahbabi, and Your Excellency, Dr. Zahar bin Zahar. And we are really happy and proud about this new collaboration between the two.
شكرا حمدة، الله يوفقكم إن شاء الله.
أجمعين يا رب. So now we would like to get back to Anas to give us a presentation about the highlights of the UAE NewSpace Innovation Program.
Thank you, Hamda, and again, congratulations the UAE Space Agency and EDGM on this on the signing. And I'm sure there will be a lot of great initiatives that will positively impact the local UAE innovation ecosystem. I'd like to go over the UAE NewSpace Innovation Program, and I'll do this very briefly so that, as we're a bit short on time. As Nasser may have already mentioned in the previous slides, just to give you a bit of background, the verticals in terms of where the focus areas were on this program were primarily three. So first is innovations in space sciences. The second is extending human presence in space. And the third is the exploration and communications in space. And again, the focus of this program was to turning space-related ideas into viable businesses with the potential to expand their growth and competitiveness in the UAE space industry. So this was a 3-month program, and before that, we had a outreach program all across the UAE. We managed to reach out to 44,000 entrepreneurs in total. Out of those, there was 13 universities that had where we actually did physical roadshows, and some of them were virtual as well. And there was 151 applications in total, and 4 startups were incubated, and these 4 startups were enrolled as part of a 3-month incubation program. And the value, the in-kind value to the startups is 2 million dirhams altogether. So I'll just explain very briefly in terms of the process that these startups actually endured during this program. So 3-month program that was divided into 4 phases. So the first phase is research and build. And what this does is it just really develops the hypothesis to be validated and tested. This is where the startup kind of enables itself to justify the assumptions, prove that it has a market opportunity and viability. And the goal is to get the startup to get a better feel for the startup basics, getting to know the customer, developing a product and offering, also testing their business model, putting it together as a preliminary framework, and initiating the talk with customers. And then the second phase is the model, validate, and acquire. So what this phase does is it focuses primarily on growing the customer interest in that particular idea or MVP. This is where the product launch is initiated, and the focus is primarily on the validation of the market potential that is out there. And the goals is to generate leads, initiate building the marketing plan, refining the product offering. This is where the sales pitch starts to be set up, and also looking to acquire customers, test marketing and sales strategies, keep refining the business model through various iterations based on the success and growth at the time. And then the phase 3 is what's referred to as the invest and growth phase. So this pulls together all of the elements, gets the startup investment ready, so it positions it so that it is able to now pursue an investment. And this is where various trainers, from accountants to lawyers, subject matter experts, etc., pitch trainers are all brought in on board to make sure that the startup has all of the necessary skill sets required, and it position itself for an investment demo day, where they will go up and they will present this to angel investors, venture capitalists, etc. And the goal of this phase is to have a process of operational funding, financial planning gets initiated here, have a proper validated business model and business plan that is well refined, begin the investor funding model, the elevator pitch, how you're going to pitch this to investors, what is the value proposition that you are showing, what exactly are you looking in terms of an investment, in terms of an amount, in terms of a partnership, etc. And refining the business model and the investment model, having a final pitch deck. And then the final phase is basically the growth phase. So this is where the startup now pitches and starts to build a network, starts to build on that momentum, establishes partners, a client base, seeks clients and partners for pilot projects or direct client paid projects. And the goal of this is basically starting the planning for growth and expansion, There's a number of iterations of refinement that take place also at this stage. And this is where the startup now starts to really promote itself and attending events, maintaining and building that momentum, and making as much noise as possible about the startup, about what product or service they are offering, what they require from investors, but at the same time in parallel continuously refining and through various iterations and making any particular refinements, etc. So this is the process in brief, which the startups have gone through over the last 3 to 4 months. And I believe next Hamda will position us to be able to hear directly from these startups. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Anas. It was a very interesting presentation. So now we will proceed with the startup pitches.
And how much time each one of them have? Because I'm getting some messages from some of the colleagues about the timing of the program.
It should be a 1-minute pitch.
Okay. Wow. So an elevator pitch. That's what we say.
Yes, exactly.
Should I start?
Yes, Dr. Ali.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for the opportunity to present our work. My name is Ali Al-Hammadi, CEO and founder of Farman. Especially under the current circumstances of lockdown, digitization and remote monitoring has become a necessity for smooth operation. In Farman, we provide government authorities with a platform powered by artificial intelligence to efficiently monitor commodities and help them in their day-to-day activities using remote sensing and live camera technologies. Through our partnerships, we can collect frequent satellite imagery with high resolutions, and using our in-house developed deep learning models, coupled with our image processing technology, we are able to analyze and digitize these images for different applications in different government sectors, from infrastructure and 3D mapping, maritime and intelligence. Our platform allows these authorities to continuously monitor their areas of interest, track changes, and report violations, in addition to providing detailed statistics in an automated and cost-effective way. Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you, Dr. Ali.
Imagine that you can observe the Earth and serve multiple sectors that combine together more than 15 billion US dollar. Hi, my name is Ahmed Zubairi. I'm CEO of StarSat Arabia. And we will improve data-driven decisions by providing high resolution and affordable satellite imagery. Yes, by building and design a constellation of small-cell satellites and launch it into LEO. Now we are aiming to launch our demo mission by the end of 2021, but to do that, we are focusing on designing the payload of the SAR and testing the GNC code in orbit. And guess what? We have beautiful images taken by airborne platform taken by the lighter aircraft, and now we are ready to serve our first customers. We are appreciated to our partners, especially UAE Space Agency, and we are able to secure a grant from Taqaddam. And also we are seeking for more collaborators and partners. We believe that our team is a good start, and we are planning to increase our team in order to improve life on Earth. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ahmed.
Good afternoon, Your Excellencies, panelists and guests. My name is Zaid Al-Reyes, and I'm the founder of Arc Inventions. Welcome to our startup journey. Arc Inventions is a space tech company making the newest sensor for satellites called StarSense. Shown here on the left, StarSense is designed to solve the biggest challenges in the space industry, mainly magnetic interference. As satellites get smaller with this growing industry, interference becomes much worse. So we've invented StarSense to work free from magnetism. It offers higher satellite pointing accuracy by using chemistry as its measuring principle, and also acts as both a sensor and controller. By putting StarSense into space, we will be transforming industries here on the ground with many applications in cars, planes, and drones. Arc Inventions operates with a licensing and manufacturing model with our goal of becoming the UAE's first producers of satellite sensors. We're honored to take this journey together. Thank you.
Thank you, Zaid. Hamid.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everybody, I am Hamid Al-Taneji, Emirati inventor, and my company is in Sky Green Tech, a newly established innovations company, and our product brand called Dynamo PV, which is an advanced solar photovoltaic module developed for the aim of high productivity of solar energy at lower cost. As you know, solar energy is main power supply for spacecraft and satellites in space. However, it is facing some challenges like it's very expensive, heat dissipation problem, shading, and soiling. Dynamo PV can solve these challenges due to its invented features like light trapping to reduce cost up to 50%, dynamic response to increase energy yield 20 to 30% more, passive heat distribution system to reduce degradation and increase lifetime. We are focusing on the new emerging markets like solar energy for space applications, electric vehicles, and drones. Building integration solar in addition to traditional solar market. Technology is ready for production, and thank you very much for your supporting and listening.
Thank you so much.
We help organization to benefit from satellite imagery. Hi, my name is Mustafa Al-Hashimi. I'm the founder of Eagle Eye 71. As there is a big data coming now from the satellite imagery, like what Mohammed Barrach Space Center and other suppliers is providing, integrated with the back-end data, we are at our product Eagle 71 and solution is consisting of very specialized team with long experience with the government sectors, and we are developing an application use case oriented applications utilizing the artificial intelligence, deep learning, and machine learning with the partnership with the innovation ecosystem. And we provide the analysis as a service and the understanding as a service to the government authorities in different sectors so they can become more effective in decision-making and proactive in operation and service. There are some use cases, examples here are listed. And we are inviting our partners from the government, from the academic sector, from the end user, from the accelerator, to join us in this mission all together with the existing startups so we can add value to our country and to the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mustafa, and for all the panelists for your great presentations. And now, before closing today's session, I would like to invite Nasser Al-Rashdi to say a few words.
Thank you. Thank you all. And it's really amazing to hear the progress of the 4 startups and to hear the first pitch when we were in the selection phase. And today, in 3 months' time, you see how, mashallah, they are excelling and mastering even the pitch within 1 minute, conveying the key messages and showing what they can actually provide in terms of innovation solutions. Before finishing today's session, I can't leave without thanking all the panelists and all the GSIA partners for their valuable contribution and the startups for their inspiring pitches. Last but not least, I would like to thank our partner, Krypto Labs, for their valuable partnership, which is the result of our continuing efforts. It's a real translation of a impactful MOU that we have signed back in 2019 to support the growth of our local space sector and enhance the UAE position as a competitive international hub for space business and innovation and innovative startups. And now it brings me great pleasure to conclude today's event. Thank you all for attending and bringing us a step closer to positioning the UAE as a global leader and a hub for space innovation and entrepreneurship. All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nasser, and thank you all for your time and for attending today's webinar. And special thanks to all the panelists and the startups for your valuable contribution. And together we believe that we are shaping the space future in the UAE, and our limit is beyond the skies. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for joining.